Roe in Concord says it's going to be a blowout. I wonder in which direction. What up, Ro? What are you doing?
Hey, man, not much. It's finally my day off. I love your guys' show. I try to catch it every week whenever I can.
Thank
when
you,
I'm not
Ro.
working at the restaurant.
Oh.
And I honestly feel like everyone's just underrating, like the spread's too close, and I feel like the Niners are going to make a statement this year. And Shanahan's got a good wake-up call after the whole game that happened on Sunday with blowing, just coming from behind and whatnot. And he's going to make the changes that we need to make. And I feel like it's going to be at least like a 10-point or plus more of a blowout, in my opinion.
Well, Ro, you're certainly never going to hear me turn down positivity because it's my favorite damn thing in the whole world. So I love that. Boy. But can I hold on. Yeah, but there's a but. There's a but.
Yep. Go ahead.
This is my question. How many times when the 49ers either lose or underperform are we going to use the phrase wake up call? How many times you need to wake up? You're kind of starting to turn into my teenagers who I need to go into their room 8 times every morning to wake them up. It's like that's enough wake up calls. Let's go.
Dad,
get out of bed.
You actually hit that right on the dot, man. And, I just feel like just being a faithful and just being hopeful, we got this chance to be there. I feel like the players are going to show up and this is their game to lose. And with everything that's out there for them to gain with this, we're not going to be able to have these guys in a couple of years. Not everyone on the roster that we have right now.
That's
so this is their prime. This is their game to lose.
Ro, I ain't mad at anything that you said. Thanks for calling, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy your day off.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. And that's fandom. I get it. But it does feel like that with the 49ers this year. Their roster's so good. We think they're so good. They're the favorite. And all of those wonderful things. So we do hold them to a very high standard. And when they don't hit that standard, that was a wake-up call. Maybe we've overrated them.
Right.
I still sit here getting ready for the Super Bowl, not 100% sure of that answer.
Well, and we've overrated the defense, I think, primarily because the defense has been a little bit shaky the last couple of weeks. And if you want to talk about overrating them, look no further than Vegas, where the Niners are 9-10 this year against the spread.
Yeah.
So as much as the number has been big, they have not delivered in relation to their one-loss record. When they wind up the year at 13-4, and so they're 15-4, right, including the playoffs, and that is
12-5 actually.
The 12-5,
yeah, because of the Rams thing at the end.
They lost to Baltimore.
12-5,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So 14-5, so 9-10. Their ATS against the spread is 5 games worse than what their actual record was. So maybe Vegas overrated them as much as anyone.
I mean, it's a good point. At the same time, it's like some of those numbers were crazy. Some of the numbers are absurd. And I would argue there are 2 games that were BS supposed non-covers. First of all, Sean McVegas, week 2.
He got you.
What the hell are you doing?
Backdoor.
Kicking a buzzer-beater field goal, and the number closed at 7.5. Now, a lot of people got it at 6.5 or 7 earlier in the week, but it goes as a loss. Same thing against Tampa Bay. Backdoor cover Baker Mayfield. If I remember correctly, what was the final score of that game? Was it 27-14 or 27-13 or what was that one?
Against Tampa? 27-14.
27-14. Now, the game closed at 13.5. Goes down as a loss. A lot of people got it at 12.
Bad beat.
A lot of people got it at 12.5. I won. I got that thing at 12.5. So I do think they're also based on the large spreads and the way sharps were betting those numbers up. There are a couple of fakakta losses, if you will, but your point stands.
Green Bay, you're favored by 10.5. You win by 3. Detroit, you're favored by 7.5. You win by 3. Those are the ones that I look at in terms of, geez, where are we at? And this game's 1.5 or 2. In Kansas City against the spread, 12-7-1. They were tied for 3rd best in the NFL. So in terms of Rose's phone call and predicting a 10-point or more blowout, this one feels to me like it's going to be a 1 or 2 point game either way.
Well, I also would argue a 10-point game is not a blowout. That's not a blowout. Like, not at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I know the number is 2, and so that would feel like an easy cover, if you will. But that's part of the point I was making earlier. Like, if you're, hello, 49er fans, if you're up by 10 in the fourth quarter, game not over yet.
Yeah. Niners won 11 games this year by 10 or more. 11.
Jeez.
And of those,
that's a lot.
Pittsburgh, they were favored by 1. That's a cover. They were favored by 10.5 over the Giants. They covered. Favored by 14 and a hook over Arizona. They covered. They won by 19.
Mm-hmm.
Favored by 3.5 over Dallas. That's a cover.
Big cover.
Favored by 3 over Jacksonville.
Big cover.
Favored by 13.5 over Tampa, as you mentioned. That's a no cover. By 7 over Seattle, cover. By 3 over Philly, cover. By Seattle, by 14.5, no cover.
No cover.
They won by 12. By 12 over Arizona, cover. By 14 over Washington, cover. Yeah. So they covered some big numbers this year.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, that many double-digit wins is why they're favored in the Super Bowl.
Right.
They have outscored their opponents, outgained their opponents, up there with the best in the NFL. They are number 1, I think, in outgaining, and I think they were number 2 maybe in point differential, and that was mainly because the Cowboys get to play the Giants twice.
Right.
And like half their point differential was those 2 games. So, yeah, like they've been the best team in football. It doesn't feel like it in the last 2 weeks,
No,
though.
it doesn't.
But they've been the best team in football if you go back from the beginning to the end.
You had to fight tooth and nail to beat a 7 seed at home, and then you were asleep at halftime against Detroit at home, and then you had to recover to win that one. So maybe it's because of those 2 games that has us thinking that, they're not as sharp as they were earlier in the year.
Let's go to Scott in Vallejo. Hey, Scott, you're on with Willard and Dibs. What you doing, man?
What's going on, Willie and Dibbers? How you guys doing?
We good.
Nice. Hey, so this does not, just to answer your guys' question, this does not cement Shanahan's legacy, what happens here, unless he blows a 30-point halftime lead. And I wanted to talk prop bets.
Let's go.
There's some ridiculous prop bets that should be talked about, at least laughed about. If you go on Bovada collects football and requested wagers. You will find some of the most outrageous bets available. They got one of them is the only one that has a title. It's called Taylor Sniff. And in this prop bet, Chiefs win. They go to the White House. Taylor Swift goes with them. Taylor Swift endorses Joe Biden, where he is seen smelling her hair.
Taylor Sniff.
And what are the odds, Scott?
Oh, plus 10,000 on that puppy.
Plus 10,000. I get it.
No, but that one. What's sad is all those things can actually happen. And if you go down a little further, there's one for plus 100,000. And this is as ridiculous as it gets. That's why I want to bring it up.
Okay.
So they're saying, okay, aliens invade Las Vegas. The game ends in a tie. Plus 100,000.
Yeah, I saw that one.
That's a real bet being offered.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in. I mean, some people think aliens are already walking among us, and I don't think that you can disprove it, actually. I can't disprove the idea that you're an alien.
Well,
I'm just saying. Thanks, Scott.
It's possible. You're probably more likely to be AI than me.
Maybe.
With your voice and, your perfectly manicured eyebrows and the rest of it.
I just got a haircut. But I mean, thank you. Great clips. Anyway.
Nice. Pay it.
Right? You've seen Men in Black. Sometimes the aliens just look like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes they look like a pug.
And I wonder if the aliens would want to actually stop the game and have it end in a tie. If you're going to imprint your alien ways on society, I don't know if that's the way I would go about doing it. It'd be more dramatic if you vaporized Patrick Mahomes in the pocket or something like that, or singed off
Taylor
Andy's
Swift
mustache,
just started flying down from a suite, just levitating, and then
that would be Dua Lipa.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And you know what it would be?
It'd be a levitation sensation.
Yes, it
Let's
would.
Go.
Let's
I'm
go.
ready for 3
Let's go.
F yeah. I'm warming it up.
Curtis in Pleasant Hill. Hi, Curtis.
Hey, what up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. What's cooking?
I just want to talk about Kyle Shanahan. I think personally that this game is huge for him just because of being saved last week by Brock Purdy. I think that game we only won because of Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. I don't think Kyle Shanahan had anything to do with that win, honestly. And if he doesn't do something this week, I don't believe in him too much.
Wow. Okay, Curtis, that's interesting to me. First of all, you made two statements there. Let's start with the first one. You give Kyle no credit for what happened in the second half of the game last week, even though, I mean, yes, Purdy's out there and some of them were breakdown plays, but Kyle is calling all of those plays, and he's been saddled with the label as the guy who can't come from behind in the second half his entire 49ers career. He finally does, and you give him no credit?
I mean, like I said, I don't think they came back because of him. I think they came back because of Brock Purdy.
And then your second statement, if he doesn't win this game, you don't believe in him very much. A head coach who is being called the owner of a system so great that half the league could quarterback it, and he's been to 4 NFC title games in 5 years and 2 Super Bowls, and you're not convinced.
Well, I guess that does come down to him in a coaching aspect, but a lot of it's also drafting. They did a great job drafting. They did a great job bringing in people for him. And so you can only do so much with what you're given, and I think that, he has such a great team that it's hard for him not to get to, like, the NFC championship.
Who do you think is drafting those offensive players?
I presume it's the GM.
Yeah. It's not really, but I get where you're coming from, Curtis. Thanks so much. Look, all of the picks are, in theory, a collaboration sensation.
That's a buck, yeah.
There's no doubt about that, but everything we know, and actually, I can't wait to talk to him tomorrow. A really cool article, Football Morning in America with Peter King, is out, and he referenced it last week on our show that he was going to write about the process of drafting Brock Purdy and how that came together. And if you go read that, you will see the imprint that Kyle Shanahan has, particularly on the offensive players who are selected. And so he's got the final say when it comes to an offensive player that gets selected. Deebo Samuel, that has Kyle's handprints
for sure
all over it. Brandon Ayuk, Kyle's handprints are all over it. And whether it was meant to be or not, Brock Purdy's got Kyle's handprints all over it. All over it.
Yeah, and he, in Peter King's column, and he laid it out in our segment with him last week, that was one that he kind of put his foot down and told the people in the room, yes, I know that we have other quarterbacks, but we're going to absolutely draft another quarterback, and we're going to take this quarterback because if we don't draft him, he won't come here. He'll go elsewhere. And turned out Kyle needed him more than he even thought in that day.
Peter King with us last week on Shanahan fighting for Purdy on draft day.
Kyle Shanahan, when they were trying to decide what they were going to do, he said in that room, I love this quarterback. This is the guy I want to take. And so all of a sudden, a chorus of other coaches come up and say, oh, man, we need this linebacker. We need this receiver. This guy is going to help us. We got 2 quarterbacks already. You just traded 3 ones last year to pick Trey Lance. Who cares about a quarterback and if we lose him? It doesn't matter. But Kyle Shanahan and the management of this team made a decision that I'm telling you ticked off some people in that room when they took Brock Purdy, because who has any idea about a quarterback from Iowa State? However, Kyle Shanahan knew one thing, and it was the most important thing, and it was the reason why he ended up taking Brock Purdy with the 262nd and final pick in the draft. And he knew that Brock Purdy was not going to sign with the 49ers in free agency. He knew it. So he said, if we want this guy, if I love him so much, we got to pick him. So they picked him. And obviously they lost out on a couple of guys who might have made their team, because every year there's 1 or 2 or 3 guys who is an undrafted rookie who comes in on all teams in the NFL and makes the team. But I think the coaches who are arguing against that are pretty happy this evening that Kyle Shanahan got his back up and said, hey, we're taking Brock Purdy.
Okay, so
it's a lot of you in there.
There were a couple of Yeah, I had a couple of those in there. Got to let them know you're listening.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I get it. This wasn't supposed to be the way that it all played out. However, you get to choose which way you want to do this. You either can give, I guess, no credit and no blame to Kyle Shanahan for the quarterbacking situation, or you can give all credit and all blame. And that's what I choose to do.
Of course.
Yeah, he's got to wear the fact that he drafted Trey Lance and traded all kinds of assets, and it was a massive mistake. But, therefore, he also gets credit for wiggling out of that with something that was worthy of a magician. And he was the one who stood on a table and said, Brock Purdy's got to be on this football team. Now you're back in the Super Bowl.
Right. And if you win the Super Bowl, then it becomes akin to the famous Steve Young run where Lon Simmons is on the call and Steve Young gets away.
Gets away
again. And that's kind of what this feels like, because Kyle Shanahan has rumbled, bumbled, and stumbled, yet he's still on his feet, and you're in the Super Bowl. So did he make a massive mistake by trading 3 firsts to get Trey Lance? Absolutely. Does it no longer matter? Talk to me on Monday. Talk to me in a week, because if they win this game and he brings the Lombardi home, yeah, it's a mistake, but who cares if it's a mistake?
I was at that game.
You were.
The Steve Young gets away again.
Oh, Lon Simmons.
I've answered the question
What a call.
A couple of times when people say, like, what's the greatest sort of moment that you've seen live?
Yeah.
And the brain scrambles because you're like, okay, right? I mean, and we're lucky.
Yeah.
We go to a lot of events. That one might be my answer. It has been my answer before. Steve Young against the Vikings and that run. I was at the 26-yard line for that one. Yeah, with my dad.
That's so great.
Yeah.
For me, the answer, and especially non-championship moments,
yes,
the answer for me is always over Kirilenko.
Oh,
because I was on the other end, and that's the moment for me.
That's the one.
Non-championship moment.